Hey, welcome back to Mindful May. Here's the deal. It is Monday, I'm going to a wedding on Friday, and I really want to make a dress in time to bring it with me. I have a vision for what it's going to look like. I'm going to self-draft it, which doesn't always turn out great, but I have high hopes for this one. Basically, my plan is kind of a 70s V-neck dress with long flowy bell sleeves. It's going to be a mini right above my knees. It's going to have a low back with a section that is elasticized and a tie right at my upper back. We'll see how it goes. These are the fabrics I'm planning on working with. First up, this is my lining fabric. This is like a navy blue satin. I got this whole thing for $1 at the thrift store. There wasn't a lot to choose from, and it looked pretty good underneath my main fabric. And my main fabric was gifted by a friend of mine, Jacob. Shout out to you, Jacob. He also thrifted it. Looks like it was $3.99 from Savers. So if I can get this all together, this is going to be a $5 dress. So I'm going to jump into this self-drafting process first by taking my measurements. Taking my bust measurement, finding the half and then the quarter, finding the back panel measurement, my shoulder to under bust, the depth of my V-neck, my under bust measurement, and then lastly, from the top of the V to the length that I want. And my hips for good measure. Here's what everything looks like mapped out. It looks a little crazy, but this is what we're going for. I'm going to make a pattern piece for my front and back panel, starting off with a rectangle of 10 inches by 13.75. This is a quarter of my bust plus an inch, then my shoulder to bust measurement plus 2 inches. For the depth of my neckline, I'm looking at 11.5 inches. And then half of my neckline is going to be 3.5 inches. My strap will be 4 inches. From the end of the strap, I'm just going to pop down to make a nice angle so it sits nicely on my shoulders. And then to make the armhole, I'm just going to use a tank top that fits me very well and trace the front armhole. In order to make the gathers, I'm going to make a little curvature at the bottom of my panel piece. For the back, I made another rectangle of 7.75 inches by 16.25 inches. This is from my shoulder to my low back and then the width of my back panel. That was that measurement that I took earlier. From here again, I want a 4-inch strap. I'm going to make the same angle from the corner to about 1/2 inch down. Again, using my tank top, but the armhole from the back side. Going down 5 inches, which is how low I wanted it to go. And then I measured 1/2 inch from each side of my back panel. I wanted a little more of an interesting angle, so it's going to hug my waistline a little bit better. And then from my open back, it's going to get a little wider as it goes to my low back. I'll cut these pieces out, and this is how they look together. They're going to meet right under the armpit. Instead of making a pattern for my skirt, I'm just cutting out a square 22.5 by 22.5, 2 from my lining and 2 from my main skirt. I took my hip measurement and divided it by 4 to give me the width of the top of my panels. This led to 9.5 inches quartered. I'm going to cut this and taper it down over my hips so it gets a little wider and flowier as it goes down. Same thing with my main fabric, cutting a square first of 22.5 by 22.5. and then tapering it from my waist down to my hips. To both the lining and the main fabric, from both ends I measured down at 2 inches and then cut from the midpoint to that 2-inch mark. This will give me that nice triangular shape for my skirt that I'm looking for. Now to cut out all the pattern pieces, I need 2 of the main, 2 of the lining, and same for my back panel pieces. For the ties that will be on my upper back, I went with 22 inches by 1 inch. I did this in a funny way. I made a 2-inch strip and then cut it in half. Whatever works. Next, to make my sleeve, I wanted it 10 inches by 24 inches on the fold. So 24 inches is my length, 20 inches is my width, but again, cutting on the fold, I just measured 10 inches. And using my tank top again, I'm going to mark out the shape of the armhole. And then taper it till it gets to the width of that 10 inches. This will give me that nice bell sleeve that I'm looking for. Now to assemble the top, I'm going to take one front piece, one back piece, put them right sides together and attach them at the shoulder. I'll do this for both the main pieces and both the lining pieces. Once those are attached, I'm going to place one lining to one main panel, pin it all along the armhole. And then down the back and the front neckline. I nearly forgot that I need to add my strap at this point, so let's make those first. I'm just going to sew them right sides together, closing up one end, and then sewing all down the length of it. And then I turned it inside out using my awesome looper threader tool. This thing is amazing. I measured down 2.5 inches from the shoulder line. And this is where I want my strap to sit, so I will grab the unfinished end of the strap, pin it in place, and of course tuck the rest of it inside so it doesn't get sewn into the wrong spot. I'll sew the armhole and the neckline. Okay, the lighting in here is so bad right now because it's 6 p.m. and it's stormy outside, but I've got a dress to finish. So I've got the top and back done. That's kind of like the V. Oh, that's the back with the tie. To be honest, I'm not loving the dark lining, but it is what it is. I don't have time to go back and fix it, so I will carry on. Okay, up next is the skirt. Tuck that away for now. Okie dokie. Okay, I guess I will attach them at the side seams, right sides together. Was debating putting a slit in. I think I made it flowy enough at the bottom where I'll have enough space to dance. Here goes the skirt. Here goes nothing. What happens if this dress turns out terrible and I don't even wear it? Wouldn't be the first time. It is another day. I am almost finished with the top. I have to now connect the sides, so right underneath the armpit. So I'm going to sew that right sides together. Gonna get right in there in the armpit in this guy. Sew it with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just your normal stuff. And then I've got the bust gathers to make and then the sleeves, of course, but it's nearly there. This dress is actually coming together much faster than I thought it would. Like, I got a lot done yesterday. It helps that I worked into the night up until getting frustrated with my serger. This machine is old. It was old when I bought it. Now it's even older. And I'm debating if I want to upgrade and buy something newer. I could pay someone, it's like $80 to get it diagnosed and to see what is breaking my threads. Or I could just take the plunge, buy a new one. So I'm gonna want a new one someday anyway. This one was only $99 off of Facebook Marketplace. So maybe it's time. Okay, going to sew these. I feel like it's kind of confusing, but it's the seam right underneath the armpit. If you've ever wondered how I store my machines, I keep them up here, typically unplugged, and then I plug them in as I need them and as I trade back and forth. All right, you don't want to watch this. Okay, I think the top is finished. I did decide to top stitch over the top because the iron just wasn't keeping it all in place. Next up, I'm going to sew a few gathers in the bust, bring that in, and then attach it to the skirt. I'm almost done here. All right, next up is the skirt. I kind of started this process already, but I'm sewing them right sides together at the waistband. I'm doing this for a few reasons. I need to make like a little tunnel in the back waistline for the elastic, and I need it to look clean at the back waistline. I can't have a raw edge there, so this needs to be a clean seam. So yeah, it's not quite right sides together. Similarly to this dress, I wanted the lining and the skirt to both face the outside, so you have to sew the right side of one to the wrong side of the other, basically. I'm so curious how this is going to turn out. I really love working with patterns because I'm guaranteed a good result, pretty much. But when I self-draft, it's like, who even knows what's going to happen? I don't know. And then I'm going to sew this on right outside of my serge line, again, to make a tunnel for the elastic. And I'll show you how I do that later. All right, yesterday I put on the first bodice piece, did a gathering stitch in the front, and sewed the main panel right sides together to the skirt, and then did the same thing with the lining. So it ended up giving it a really clean look, which is awesome. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, starting with gathering stitch through each of the fabric, and then I'll pin and sew the main side to the dress, and then flip it over and sew good sides of the lining to the good sides of the lining. In case anyone's wondering, it is Wednesday. Wedding is Saturday, but we leave Friday morning. I watched my nephew today for 5 hours, so this is kind of like my window. So I've got maybe 2 hours. I have other things I need to do. So I've got 2 hours today, and then tomorrow I've got stuff to do before the trip, but I'm determined to get a dress done. Okay, so the top is finished. I'm going to add the elastic to the back portion in between the back straps. I'm going to go in between the layers. I'm trying to decide if I should just sew it directly to the fabric. What I ended up doing was sewing a tunnel. So I created a line here and then put my elastic through the tunnel, stabilized it on one end while holding it on the other end, let it gather, and then stabilized it on the other end. Then I didn't have to put in a zipper. So that was a win. Here's what she's looking like so far. Now I just am up to the sleeves and hemming the bottom. I don't know if I want to do the sleeves or not. It is a summer wedding, but I love the idea of a bell sleeve. Lastly, to attach the sleeves, I decided to go for the sleeves for lots of reasons. I think I like having my arms covered, just personal preference. I also just like the look of the 70s bell sleeve, and I didn't want to miss out on that because that was part of my initial plan. Even though I think the strapless looks good, I think the sleeve will be even better and kind of elevate the dress. Let's do it.